Coming up, part 1 of our long-lost recording of Woodlands Pride 2023. Hello again and welcome back to Trans Truth. I am your host, Kelly Nelson, she, her, hers, joined, as always, by...
I'm Jerry Ann, and my pronouns are also she, her, and hers.
And this is a very special edition of Trans Truth. We are recording...
Let me say it.
Say it.
We are at Woodlands Pride. For those of you who are not familiar with the greater Houston area, Woodlands is a community north of Houston, about 25, 30 miles. You'd never know because you never leave the city getting here. So I think it's considered part of the greater Houston area, but we are at the 5th annual, I think, Woodlands Pride. I'm sorry, we were at Katy last Saturday, Katy Pride west of Houston. But here we are, Woodlands Pride, Kelly.
Here we are. The Woodlands is, like Jerry Ann said, is actually it was a planned community from the start, about 25, 30 miles north of Houston proper. Just a gorgeous community. Has an engineered waterway running through the neighborhoods. Just about 150 yards behind us, there's a wide spot in the waterway. You can rent swan boats and pedal yourself around. Anyway, the Town Green Park is where we are, and it is filled with vendors. I am impressed. It's probably grown 50% since the first year when I was here.
Well, this is my first year, and it's quite impressive, and vendors are still setting up. I think the official start time is just 5 or 10 minutes maybe. And but yeah, people are still coming in, setting up. I've not seen a food truck yet.
Well, they better show up, because that was part of the deal. They promised. We had somebody stop by and introduce themselves. In fact, I think they're set up right behind us from the Oasis community. Is that right?
Yes, Oasis community. I've got the card right here. Yeah, we'll give them a plug. Houston Oasis is an organization, the way I understand it, for people who have been marginalized by their church, perhaps, and just fed up with the whole religiosity of contemporary Christianity. I call it churchiosity or churchianity. And so they provide a community for people who don't want all the religious that oftentimes condemns them. So, yeah, Houston Oasis is a secular community that meets regularly to create a place for free thinkers to celebrate the human experience.
Free thinkers. As I was reading what little they've shared on that card, I kept thinking about Freemasons. Now, Freemasonry is I don't want to say founded on, but religion, or at least a belief in a supreme being, is central to Freemasonry. But also central to that organization is the belief that no matter what your faith, we can all be decent people. The Oasis core values, it's on the back of the card. People are more important than beliefs. Reality is known through reason. Meaning comes from making a difference. Human hands solve human problems. Be accepting and be accepted. Boy, that sounds familiar. Who else do you know that advocated those things, Jerry Ann?
Well, it was that guy that modern Christians claim to follow.
Oh, that woke dude.
Yeah, that woke dude, that socialist woke dude. they called Jesus. Yeah.
Well, I'm intrigued. We're going to have to drag one of them over here for an interview a little bit later.
Yeah. For our listeners' benefit, please understand that we are not playing down the place of faith, whatever it may be, Christian faith. Islam, Jewish faith, or some other. We just play on the fact that a lot of so-called contemporary Christians don't practice that faith. In fact, they seem to counter that faith the way it's been taught in Holy Scriptures.
Well, since you already started down the rant road, I'll add to it. We hear a lot about this being a Christian nation or a faith-based nation, and to be sure, most of the founding fathers were men of faith, but they were also a group that was barely a generation removed from a time when believing in the wrong God or the wrong faith could get you executed. Okay, where was I?
We were talking about faith and belief,
and the founding fathers, who, when they drafted the Constitution, created a system of law and government for the first time in the history of the world, did not invoke deity as the authority to govern. I also mentioned earlier in talking about the Oasis community, how much they sounded like Freemasonry. In another life, I was a Master Mason. In fact, a 32nd degree Scottish Rite Mason. My lodge brothers would probably not be comfortable with me today, but the teachings apply to anybody. Could benefit anybody, and I'm just intrigued as hell to see that there's a community that has embraced that kind of thinking, that free thought, found a way to organize and gather like-minded people.
Well, back to churches, just across the way is a tent. Let's see, that's Woodlands Lord of Life Lutheran Church, Woodlands, Texas, and 3 tents down from them is one from First Christian Church in Katy, where we were last Saturday. I talked to some people who were representing Cypress Creek Christian Church here in Katy. So this is not an anti-church gathering, and neither is Trans Truth, the podcast. Well, just to bring this topic to a close, Kelly, you'll remember in an earlier podcast of ours, I talked about religion not being a biblical thing. That religion is an invention of man, and the way it's been practiced throughout the ages has very little to do with God, the God, a deity, or otherwise.
It's an institution, a set of rules. It is, like you said, a construct of man. We are about a little less than a half hour away from the official opening of the 5th annual Woodlands Pride. So we're going to park it for a few minutes, and we will be back shortly. And just like that, we're back, and somebody has just walked up to our remote studio and sat down in front of the microphone. Introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Naya. I'm 40 years old. I'm trans femme. Have been for the past 2.3 years, and I'm many other things besides that, but that's the first few.
Well, welcome to Trans Truth.
I missed the first name.
Naya, N-I-A.
Naya, that's a cool name. I like that.
Thank you.
This is Jerry Ann. I'm Kelly.
Nice to meet you both.
My guess is you're an engineer, 2.3 years. I mean...
no, I didn't... I have an interest in engineering, but nothing more specific than that right now.
I like the hair, by the way.
Thank you. It was brighter Tuesday, but I had to wash it a couple times.
Oh.
I see. Well, we were at Katy Pride last Saturday.
Great.
Did a lot of interviews. So what brings you to Woodlands Pride?
This is my second Pride event. I was here last year, which was my first Pride event, and Actually, I could do a little Google search on my phone, but that would take time out of what we're doing now of how many days I've been trans, because it's been close to 900 since it's 2.3 years, and it's been a while. I've actually done some speaking at Pride Woodlands earlier, and earlier this year, it was a symposium, I think, like at the college campus. I don't remember the location, but I spoke with a microphone and a room of 100 people I had never met on a microphone, and my picture is floating somewhere around Instagram. So like that was fun too.
I see.
So how has your journey been?
It's been great so far. It was
good.
It was a rough start, but now that I've come into myself and come out as myself, it had a lot of challenges along the way, like having new friendships and leaving other friends that weren't my friends. And it's been a really great journey so far. And since I'm going to be taking the pills for the rest of my life, I've got a long way to go.
That's that story is as common as it is tragic. There are more of us that lose friends, lose family. But you must be doing something right because you found new ones.
Yeah, it's the family you find, not the family you're born with.
There
That's
you
the best.
go.
Right. I say that when you can't have your given family, you can have your chosen family.
I choose that more.
So let me ask you our stock question. When did you realize you were trans?
Oh, I love this one. It was actually, I had called both my parents, my mom first and my dad, in the middle of the night because I didn't know what transgender meant until I actually started researching it. And it's like, oh, I can be a woman with pills or injections or whatever. And it's just like, oh, I really need to do this because I'm miserable as a cisgendered male, as I was 2.3 years ago. And I called my mom and my dad up in the middle of the night, and it was like it probably wasn't 2 a.m., but it felt like that because I'd already been asleep for a little while, and I just like woke up with an epiphany. And I called my mom, and I think I said, I was just like in like a panicked rush. And I said, Mom, I think I'm trans and gay. And she kind of like had a long pause of silence, as parents often do when you come out to them.
Yeah.
And she said, like, we'll talk about this tomorrow. And like, it was already bedtime for her and stuff like that. And I remember calling my dad exactly the second after I got done with that. And this is the hard part where it's going to make me cry a bit. But, you know, trauma often does. And I remember calling my dad, saying the same thing to him. And he says, what if I can remember, that I think you can be, I think you can be trans, but I don't think you can be gay. It was something like that. It wasn't very affirming. And he was the hardest to get to come around over the years, but he's actually started calling me his daughter recently, and it's amazing to see that progression in him.
You're obviously one of the lucky ones, you know, that family comes around and cares enough to understand. You know, I was interested. You described it being kind of an epiphany. You know, even those of us that suffer from gender dysphoria don't understand it. You know, younger generations certainly do better.
Yeah,
it seems, but some of us, it just takes a long time to sink in.
It very much does. And I had my ups and downs, as the roller coaster of gender often puts us through. And I have about 30 seconds before I have to get to my booth, so I better go.
Okay. Naya, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Yep. And what do you do at your booth?
It's the Northwards Unitarian Universalist booth. It's right over there.
Okay.
I'll be there from 11 to 12, and I'll probably be back after that because it's fun talking with this.
All right. Well, it is 11:05. And the Houston Pride Band has taken the stage. You can probably hear them in the background. The Woodlands Pride, the 5th annual Woodlands Pride, is now underway. You're not listening to this live, though we're recording it live, and we hope you were able to join us on this great day in October. Just a gorgeous day. And everybody appears to be having a good time. The park is filling up quickly. So we'll be back shortly. If it helps, there you go. Okay. Charlie, right?
Yes.
Yes. Charlie is another festival goer who just wandered by our booth and decided to give us a piece of their mind.
So, Charlie, what brings you to Woodlands Pride?
Well, my family and I have been coming to since the very first Woodlands Pride. We live all the way in Houston, but we love coming out here, seeing the locals and like all the booths. It's really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, you just like to be around cool people doing cool things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
we get it. We get it. This is not our first Pride Festival. We were in Katy last Saturday for Katy Pride, their first ever.
Yeah, my parents
Katy.
were there for that one too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Well, I live on the very southern rim of Houston, in Fort Bend County, and Kelly lives. You live in Fort Bend County too.
I do, yes.
Well, so does Kelly, but she lives in Sugar Land. So we're neighbors. Where do you
Yeah.
live?
Yeah, right outside of Sugar Land, actually. I'm in Missouri City.
Small world.
Yeah, I live. There's just a little bit of Houston in Fort Bend County between Pearland and Missouri City.
Did you have something you wanted to bring up? Questions to ask?
I don't really
Wisdom
have-
to share?
Wisdom-ish. It's more like grievances, sort of, like with all the laws that are being passed right now as a young trans person. I'm 17, so legally right now I'm not allowed to be on testosterone, so I'm having to microdose what little bits I have left until I turn 18. And a lot of people don't realize, who aren't on hormone replacement therapy, that if you go off of your hormones, it's more dangerous than being put on, because you've got all these chemicals that are like adjusting and like changing your body, and then once you get off of it, your brain is like, where are my hormones? Where are the good juices that make me happy? And you just go into a really deep depression.
Yeah.
So, Charlie, what are your pronouns?
I use they, them pronouns.
Okay.
We interviewed an endocrinologist earlier this week.
Oh, wow.
Just, and she's her clinic. The bulk of her patients are transgender, and she put it in a very interesting way when we were talking about the tragedy in all the Republican states of passing laws keeping trans kids from getting gender affirming care, and she said, and they all use the excuse, well, they can wait till they're 18. Yeah. You're going to force a kid to go through puberty as the wrong gender and expect that to be okay. And would you expect a kid who's got cancer to wait until they're 18 to get treatment?
Exactly.
And I thought that was just a very astute observation on her part.
Because a lot of the time, unless we are on hormone replacement therapy, we don't make it to 18.
That's a fact. Yeah, the suicide rate for transgender people in general and transgender youth is staggering. And it's often dismissed as, well, it's just mostly suicidal ideation. Yes, it is.
Right.
But if somebody showed up and at a mental health facility and said, I'm thinking of killing myself, that's a cardinal sign of clinical depression, and they'd get treatment. No questions asked. So why is it that for the transgender community, the most effective treatment is something that needs to be banned, that kids need to be protected from? I'm sorry, I'm on my soapbox again.
No, you are good. You are so good.
Kelly, you didn't see that red light blinking that you were out of time several minutes ago? Well, Charlie, take a card and tune us in. We have 24 episodes, I think, of our podcast out there already, and we will edit for continuity and brevity and all that kind of stuff. We clean this stuff up.
Okay.
Or Kelly does.
Yeah,
anyway.
we'll make you sound good.
Yeah, you'll be amazed. You'll be amazed how good you sound and how intelligent you sound too. So, but it's good to have you, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Enjoy your Pride, y'all.
right,
You too,
thanks.
Charlie. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
So a lady just came up to the table. She was eyeballing our candy dish, and she got closer and closer, and then you could see her shoulders sag. And she said, "Oh, I thought it was candy corn."
Oh my gosh! Oh, I'm glad I'm sitting down for this. Yeah, I thought it was very unusual to see a unicorn walk by a while ago. I've not seen a unicorn in a long time. But for a human being to walk up and ask for candy corn is just about more than my system can handle. I'm glad I'm sitting down.
As she walked away, my comment to Jerry Ann was, "So she's the one, that human being who likes candy corn."
That's why they, you know what? If it weren't for her, they quit making that crap.
Well, it floods the shelves every October. And I guess it's the really cheap people that buy it to give away to trick-or-treaters. Because I don't know anybody who likes that stuff. And as you can hear in the background, no doubt, the Houston Pride Band is still on stage. Lots of brass, lots of woodwinds, a sousaphone, and drums. Never fails. My co-host Jerry Ann walks away for a moment, and somebody else comes up and wants to give us a piece of their mind.
Okay.
Sir, tell us who you are.
I am Charlie Lindahl, and I'm a member of Northwood's Unitarian Universalist, which is a welcoming group, congregation, and we're really glad to see you here.
Well, we're glad to be here.
Good.
I was here for the first ever Woodlands Pride, and when and I haven't been back. Of course, COVID interrupted everything, and kind of put a hitch in everybody's get along when it came to things like this. But
Sure.
when the publicity started to come out, I contacted one of the organizers and said, was there for the first one. I have a podcast now.
Good deal.
We'd love to show up, and they very graciously said, bring it. So here we are. So
Excellent.
what's on your mind, sir?
I'm just really glad to see this event and this well attended in the Woodlands,
Isn't it though?
personally.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm Jerry Ann and I are from Fort Bend County, so not that familiar with the Woodlands as a community. But I'm hearing that theme repeated. I gather that the Woodlands is a bit on the conservative side.
That's accurate. It is a bubble, but the perception is that, Texas and Houston and the Woodlands everywhere is all, right-wing,
Oh yeah,
very
yeah.
very tight and isn't accepting and so forth and so on, and that's flat not true. It's certainly not 100% true, and I think the percentages are much higher in terms of acceptance and tolerance and so forth and so on than people realize, and it's events like this that underscore it. So I'm really glad to see this.
I think you're right. My experience. I'm not a native Texan, but I got here as fast as I could.
Me neither. Anyway.
But I have been, as a trans woman, I've been all over Texas.
Yeah.
I have even had barbecue.
Yeah.
In a little tiny town in the middle of the reddest part of Texas.
Sure.
With the hunters and the after church crowd.
Right.
And nobody batted an eye. we were just all there to enjoy barbecue, so it's not as contentious as I think the politicians would like us all
Agreed.
to believe, but they make a lot of hay out with disinformation and exploiting fear and ignorance.
That's true,
so-
but our job is to push back
Absolutely.
big time.
Yep.
And that's what we're doing here. That's what you're doing with your podcast and just getting the word out. And the other thing, and this is obvious, but it may bear repeating, having come from, I lived in Michigan, Ann Arbor, near Detroit. That's where I was raised and born and raised. And my dad moved us to Tennessee. And this was in the late 60s, early 70s. And I was shocked as a 12 or 13-year-old to see the blatant racism that was present in Tennessee, okay? And when people said, well, what do you think about the music? And I was in Nashville, and I said, I think this is garbage. I don't like this music. And they said, what do you like? And I said, Motown. And they're like, wait a minute, you're a white boy. And I'm like, yeah, but I grew up 20 miles out of Detroit,
Right.
okay? So anyway, what I'm getting to is that a lot of the problems and the conflict, I'm 100% convinced, has to do with contact. If you've never met a black person, if you've never met a trans person, if you've never met a gay person, you have a certain conception. But when you meet people in person and start interacting with them, and I mean, we're just people, okay? Period.
You are so right. Jerry Ann and I call that ambassadorship.
That's a good point. That's
Yeah,
a good way to put it.
we firmly believe that the most effective way of form of activism is just being out there, being the person that somebody who's never met a trans person before meets and finds out there's nothing scary about them, nothing evil, nothing perverted. They're just different.
They're just different.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, my first major thing that happened with me and trans was a good friend of mine. We go back decades, and this is about probably not going on 20 years now. He and I had gotten to be really good friends. We were technical people, and so we had shared the technical stuff. And he moved away, and we used to always have conversations, mostly about tech stuff, but we also were into politics. And at some point, he came to me and he said, Charlie, I'm a woman. And I'm like, okay, what do I call you? And it was immediate. It was like, so what's your name now? And what pronouns do I use? And she's like, oh, okay, well, that's good to hear.
Yeah,
But-
and how was that so easy for you to do that? At what point did you did the light go on and you could be that accepting?
Well, for one thing, I considered us to be close friends. We didn't. It wasn't any romantic thing. It was just
Sure.
we were close, and we had shared a lot of common interests and stuff like
So
that.
this was the first trans person that you had
that I could say
interacted
that I
with.
did in depth. That I interacted with in depth. I knew other trans people. I've been an activist for many years, so I've been involved in various LGBTQ and so forth and so on. But this is the first person that I could say, this is a friend that I've known for decades, that I've known has changed gender or gender
Sure.
association, whatever. The other part is that I know her family, or know her family. Her mother used to help my autistic son when we were up in Dallas. So we knew the whole family, and like I said, I knew her a long time. And so that was, this kind of answers your question, I think, that it was just knowing that person as a person already, and then going, well, okay, so she wants to have a different name and a different thing.
Why is that so hard?
I think the thing that's really puzzling to me is the old thing about, those gay couples down the street are going to destroy my marriage. And I'm like, how? Would you please explain that to me? Where's the harm to you if someone decides they want to be a different gender? Explain how that's hurting you. I don't understand that. It takes a while to get to that point where you can actually ask that question, but anyway.
Sooner or later, one of two things will happen.
Yeah.
They'll either say, well, it's immoral because this or that book of doctrine
Whatever.
says so, or you're a child molester.
Oh.
That
Yeah.
That's all they got when it boils right down to it.
That's true.
And they're, the whole notion
Yeah.
that gender and biological sex are not the same thing let's be fair.
Sure.
It kind of does defy common sense. But,
yeah.
common sense once upon a time said that left-handed people were defective.
And you couldn't have interracial marriage,
Mm-hmm.
and women couldn't vote, and so forth and so on. Let me also mention that sometimes if you get to the point in the conversation where it gets to some of the practical, pragmatic. I remember very vividly when the trans bathroom bill passed, and there was a little sheriff in a small town of Rockwall, real tiny town, right, way up, like a little northwest of College Station. And this sheriff said, okay, this law passed about trans bill. We're not going to enforce it in the city of Rockwall. Why? Think what the practical implications are. Are you saying that I have to sit in front of every single bathroom and ask someone to feel their genitals in order to go into the bathroom? I'm not going to do that. Okay?
Yep, spoken like a veteran law enforcement official.
Well, I'm just saying. When people think about the practical aspects of it, okay. Or this whole thing about the drag queens reading books and stuff. Again, where's the harm? Are the kids going to get inspired to become drag because they get a story read to them? I mean,
I tell people,
crazy.
drag queens are such a hit with the kids because kids love clowns.
Oh yeah, that's
And
a good point.
what's funnier than a 6 foot tall guy in outrageous makeup, hairdo, and wardrobe speaking in a man's voice?
That's a good point. I'd forgotten about that. The comparison with clowns. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Interesting.
don't get me wrong. I don't mean to disparage the queens.
no,
they're hardworking entertainers.
Oh, yeah,
but kids
sure.
just go for that stuff.
Well, and that's the other thing. I do believe that this is going to be an age situation. We already know that under 30 is 100.
Yeah.
No matter how conservative you are, if you're under 30, you're okay with great gay marriage. You're okay with gays being around. Eventually, the people that are objecting to all this stuff are, well, frankly, going to be dead. Okay, so I'm not going to help it along, but I am saying that this this particular thing is going to go away, I think, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure it happens. So anyway, it's good to have you here. Good
Thanks
to see
for
you.
stopping by.
You bet. And come by by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but there are a lot of churches here, and I really appreciate that. And I'll mention that I'm a UU. I'm at Northwoods, which is here in the Woodlands. In general, UUs are great at doing the LGBTQ.
Of course,
doing the welcoming. And come see us sometime. And I will mention one thing that I'm very proud of with the Northwoods. We did the first. We called it Prom for All in Houston, and basically said is, we're going to have a prom which welcomes gender, whatever you call it, differences, and we welcome gay couples at the prom. And we had people from all over Houston come to see it. And the best thing was the reaction of the parents was, thank you so much for giving our kids this rite of passage without any kind of judgment or any kind of thing. And that's another example of what we were talking about earlier. The things are changing.
Oh, they are. Yeah.
Not as fast as we'd like necessarily, but they are changing. So you all have allies, we have allies, we're allies, so forth. Anyway.
Yeah.
Hopefully I didn't go on too long. Sorry.
Not a bit. Not at all.
Good.
Enjoy the rest of the festival.
Thank you.
Thanks
You
for
too.
stopping by.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right, folks, we have another person that expressed some interest in what we're doing here today. And would you introduce yourself, please?
Natalie, a lover of all people.
All
Wow.
people.
So Natalie, is that why you're at Woodlands Pride today?
I am at Woodlands Pride today because I have family members that are in this community, but also to represent a place of worship where all people are welcome, because spirituality is important for all people.
And what place is that?
That's Lord of Life Lutheran Church here in the Woodlands.
Lord of Life Lutheran Church in the Woodlands.
Yes.
Oh, good. That's good to know.
Well, what brought you guys to Pride Festival today?
I was at the first Woodlands Pride Festival several years ago. I think they took a year or two off because of COVID. When I saw that this year's festival was scheduled, I reached out to Rachel and said, hey, we do a podcast and we would love to set up our remote studio at the festival in exchange for some promotion that we could bring to our listeners, try and get more people to the festival. It worked out. So
Fabulous.
here we are, and talking to people like yourself and daring them to give us a piece of their mind.
Well, we have had lots of challenges in our world lately, and I work in a special education world where all are included, and so I feel like that should be everywhere in the world. All should be included, no matter what the challenge or difference or choice is, and so that's why I'm here today. It's a fabulous festival, too.
It is. This is probably going to be number 24, 25. That's how many episodes we've done. And we go places and interview people like this and check out what's going on. We also do studio interviews, and we just do studio info sessions. We will take a topic and research it very thoroughly, and we speak nothing but the truth.
Fabulous. I love it. I'm going to take a couple of your cards and hand them out.
Sure.
By all means.
Sure.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Yeah, you can check us out at the website, at the .info website at the bottom of the card.
Fabulous. Well,
I got to tell you how impressed I am with the faith community in the Woodlands. I believe you are the third or fourth representative from some church here in the Woodlands area that has set up a booth and is part of this festival. Is that unique? Is that something the Woodlands should be uniquely proud of, that much participation by the faith community?
I think a lot of different communities are moving that way, but I also know that the Woodlands has always been kind of a starter of things to be welcome, right? That could be anything from running events and triathlons to festivals of all kinds for all communities of people. And so I think the Woodlands has always been the starter, and then it's kind of flowed out. So I'm really excited that there's a lot of churches in the area that are really leading their communities and their members to welcome all. And so there is lots of different movements across the nation with different organizations to do such a thing. And there's several of us in the Woodlands that are, part of an organization or leaning towards being a part of an organization. So I think it's becoming unique for us. There's some other tents in this festival that are across the area of Houston in case people aren't in the Woodlands. I've met some from the Cypress area, some from down in inner Houston. So I think collectively we want people to know they have places to go. They have places to be spiritually filled, and they have options. So don't be afraid to try again. That's all I'm going to say. Don't be afraid to try someplace new.
Fair enough. Trying to think of how to put this question diplomatically. Obviously, there's a lot of pushback from so-called Christians, that events like this and everything it represents is absolutely wrong. What would you say to them as a person of faith? How do you answer that?
I will tell you how I answer it to everybody. I say our God came as a God of love. There was no stipulations. The mercy is for all. The grace is for all. There was no stipulations. that's how I discuss that. Now, you can have spiritual scripture discussions back and forth, right? At the end of the day, we all interpret that in our own way, in our own hearts. And so I would say that I stand on the side of God is love, therefore I love others.
Yeah, I like to invite people to challenge that notion, because Reverend Jerry Ann here, Doctorate of Divinity, has some pretty specific views on what the Christian Messiah taught. And I am not a Christian, but I completely am down with that message. It's so common to so many faith organizations, religions, schools of philosophy. Is just be nice to other people.
Yeah, be kind, right? The
Yeah.
Be Kind movement has been happening. And I think that could apply in a lot of different areas too. So I think that we just have to remember to care about humans. Every human is important. We have people that love animals. Every animal is important to them. That's their mission. My son is that way. And I think that just the matter of the way you handle situations, the way you react, the way you care and accept people is important. And so I think spirituality can be what you need it to be, but we're all better if we have a belief system to stand on, right?
It shouldn't hurt to care about other people. And if
Right.
it does hurt you to care about other people, you need to see somebody about that.
I would agree. Well, just enjoy the rest of your day.
We will. Thanks for stopping by.
You're welcome.
All right. And introduce yourself.
My name is Jesse. I'm transgender. I'm 21 years old. I just turned 21. I've been transitioning since I was 16, 17, somewhere around there.
And what are your pronouns?
My pronouns are he, him.
Okay.
How are y'all doing
So
today?
you're 21, transitioning
Yes.
since you're 16. So you've dodged just barely
I did. It
the
actually.
laws.
I think maybe like a year after I went on testosterone at 17 was when it kind of started. When it kind of started to come down on trans
Yeah,
kids in the state
right.
of Texas.
Yeah,
So-
it's been 2 years that the Republican states have been trying to outlaw us, erase our existence.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So why do you come to Woodlands Pride?
Woodlands Pride. Well, we actually met here, me and my girlfriend. We went on like our first date here a couple of years ago, and now we live together. So it was kind of sentimental for her. But I was actually a little nervous about coming today, and she convinced me, and I'm glad we came.
Nervous? Why?
Well, the area that I work in specifically, I'm from Tomball. I don't have a lot of people like me in my area and my job field, so I guess sometimes I kind of convince myself that things can be a little bit dangerous if I'm out and if I'm proud, and it can be, but it just depends, you know what I mean? So I just a little bit of anxiety in the back of my mind, of course.
Is that from painful experience?
From past experience, from just worrying,
Sure.
a little bit of both.
You gotta admit, this is probably about the safest environment for a trans person to be out
Right,
in.
I know. Everybody's partying out here.
There's lots of law enforcement presence. In fact, I'm looking in that direction. I see 3.
Yeah, the place is lousy with them.
Now,
I
here's
count-
one. Here's one.
I know, right?
So, along that, along those lines, I have not seen Veterans for Equality today.
I'm not sure if they actually got a formal invite. It's possible that they're here in a lower profile capacity. A big part of what they do is just kind of mingle and look for threats. They have training to identify
wow.
that.
I didn't even know about that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
we were at Katy Pride last Saturday, and there was a significant presence of Veterans for Equality in the camo, combat boots,
That's cool.
and backpack, whole 9 yards.
Yeah, what their logo actually includes a line from the oath of enlistment that every U.S. military member takes, and that is to protect and defend the Constitution. And that oath does not expire for those of us that have served. So they have found a way to continue to honor that oath and make themselves available as intelligence gathering and even defending the LGBTQ community's right to speak and exist.
I think it's a necessary force right now. Unfortunately, a few months ago we were at a protest. It was right before they signed one of these House bills. I don't remember the exact number, but it was we were protesting the ban on healthcare for transgender kids.
Yeah,
and it was pretty intense. It was. I mean, there was some violence and stuff like that, not from outside people, but from the actual Capitol police themselves. It was crazy.
Yeah, we are
crazy.
actually, we have an episode in the works, and it'll take some time to put this one together, but we're going to do an episode on fear. Would you write down your contact information for us so we can get in touch with you?
Sure thing. You want email, phone number? What works best?
yeah, email would be perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, name and then email.
I really like what y'all are doing.
Well,
This is
thank
cool.
you. So do we.
I'm glad.
Okay, so take another card and then
Will do.
check us out through any service that streams
Are y'all on
podcasts.
Spotify and stuff like
Oh,
that?
yes.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah. We're worldwide. We're in 9 different countries, so any streaming
Nice.
service will get to us. Check us out on the website, transtruth.info.
Cool.
You can also contact us. You can contact us that way, and we'll contact you this way.
Thank you.
And we would love to have your input in the subject of fear, because you brought that subject up about coming here. But there are all kinds of fears people have. Fear about transition and fear, about the family, losing family, friends, job, all that kind of stuff. So
It certainly was a journey, but worth it. I'd do it all over again and again and again and again. So
sure. If you
very worth it.
If that's your best choice, you have no choice.
It's the only choice, right?
Right.
That's how I explain it to people. I'm like, going through this, it was an ordeal and it was hard, but it was the only way to make it through. All right, I'll let someone else take the mic here. Thank you.
Stopping
Thank you for your
by.
time.
Thanks
Appreciate
for
it.
joining us. Bye-bye. Okay, we have another guest. Would you please introduce yourself?
Yes, hi. My name is Hugh Dandy. I am a Houston drag king, recently voted Outsmart Magazine's Gayest and Greatest Favorite Veteran Drag King. I'm very excited to be here at the Woodlands Pride. And tell me a little bit about yourselves.
Well, my name is Jerry Ann Young, and I am, my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
Lovely.
And Kelly?
I'm Kelly Nelson, she, her, hers, and the Drag Kings, I didn't even know they existed until I attended the first Woodlands Pride Festival and the Kings were performing. And man, I was really impressed. So, and congratulations on the Gayest and Greatest Award.
Thank you very much. I'm back here again. I'm not with the H-Town Kings group this time, but I've got my own slot performance.
Oh, okay,
so,
cool.
Make sure to wave hi when I'm up there on stage.
Okay.
Sure.
I'll be looking out for you.
What time do you go on?
I go on, we're a little behind right now, so I'm not really sure. But I've got 2 numbers, so it'll be hard to miss me.
All right.
Well, to continue with your question about us,
Yes.
we're Trans Truth, the podcast.
Lovely.
And we've been doing this for a couple of years now. This will be episode, I think, 24, and something like that. And what we do is advance the purpose of human rights and social justice.
Wonderful.
And we speak the truth and give our listeners a vocabulary and dialogue to counter the accusations, lies, legends, myths that are harming trans people.
Exactly. You guys are doing the good work. Doing the good work.
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Please keep it up. Where can I find you?
All our episodes are available via the website. Any other podcast streaming service, we're pretty much there.
Okay.
I have to ask you. We know that the Woodlands Pride was party to a lawsuit that had the drag ban overturned.
Correct.
I think it was SB 12.
Yes, you'd be correct.
Did the drag kings ever get any kind of pushback like the queens have?
Oh yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the show that we usually perform at is Pearl Bar. In Houston, and which is lesbian owned and run.
You're right.
Show.
Yeah, we're
and,
familiar with Pearl.
So Julie, the owner of the bar, ended up getting her insurance threatened to drop the bar if they continued drag shows at Pearl Bar. And she fought tooth and nail.
Good for her. That doesn't surprise me a bit.
Yep, made us beautiful shirts for fundraising for the Kings in case we lost any funds through any of this. It was, she's truly Saint Julie.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Been wonderful. So yes, we've seen it. We may or may not have been able to perform. Anybody might have been able to perform at the Woodlands Pride if that had gone through.
Yeah.
So so happy to be here and celebrate that win.
Us too.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah,
Proud to.
I've been around for a long time, and we've been behind the scenes. We've had support groups.
Yeah.
For years and years on a monthly basis. And, but now we're behind the scene, and we this is not all we do. Kelly's a sign-toting activist.
Oh yes.
And I am more of an ambassador. I go deep in the enemy lines and do my thing.
Lovely, multifaceted, multi-talented. You ladies do it all, don't you?
We try. This whole thing grew out of we talk on the phone almost every day, and we'd been doing that for years. And finally, I said, we've solved all these problems. We should share this with the world.
That's right. No, absolutely. So. And like I said, one of my biggest goals in doing drag is that I want other AFAB people to know that this space is for them too.
Absolutely.
And so I think that the amount of people that see me on stage and go, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know this was for me. And so that's my goal, is to just help inspire those that want to get more into it, that this space is for them and it's safe for them too.
Bravo.
Well, good for you.
Bravo.
So yeah, no, I have to go, unfortunately. I got to check in to my stage cues.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies, so
Break
much for talking. I really appreciate
you for joining us. And we'll be watching. We've got best seat in the house here.
Thank you.
Please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Corey Picasso, but sometimes I go by Willie Hot Dandy. I have been doing drag for about 5 years, and I've been in school to be a chiropractor for the past 3 years, and I graduate this April. So as a future healthcare provider and current supporter of all healthcare, I feel that everyone should have access to the healthcare that they deserve, regardless of who they are as a person.
Okay, so Corey, you're a drag king.
Yes.
And what are your pronouns?
My pronouns in drag are he, him, but right now, since I'm out of drag, they're she, her.
Okay. So you identify as female, perform as a male.
Yes.
And what brings you to Woodlands Pride?
Woodlands Pride, I'm here supporting the drag show. I'm here with my best friend, Hugh Dandy. I know it's like real loud in here.
It is.
Yeah, I'm supporting my best friend Hugh Dandy. We actually met doing drag, and I was in his wedding, and so we've been like BFFs and inseparable for the past couple of years.
Cool. That's very cool. So, where do you come from? What area do you live?
I grew up in Sugarland, but right now I live in like the Bel Air, Sharpstown area.
Oh, cool. And you're attending school where?
I'm attending school out in Pasadena at Texas Chiropractic College.
Oh my gosh, you got to travel all the way across Houston.
My little RAV4 takes me everywhere.
My goodness. Well, Kelly lives in Sugarland, so she had to leave Sugarland to come to Woodlands, and I live on the south side of Houston between Missouri City and Pearland, so it took me about an hour to get here too.
Well, thank you, ladies, for making the drive.
Yep, wouldn't miss it. This is I was at the first Woodlands Pride Festival and was so impressed then.
Amazing.
And it's I got to tell you, I think this kicks ass on Houston's Pride celebration.
Hell yeah.
It does. Middle of the summer, my gosh, it's 140 degrees downtown Houston when they have the parade.
All that concrete.
And that's mostly what it is a parade, So, we were in Katy Pride last Saturday, and we covered that one. Got
awesome.
a lot of good interviews.
Good.
So, we want our listeners to know that their story may be just like someone else's story. You're not alone.
Right.
But no matter what your story is, you're okay.
You're okay. That's important.
Okay.
It's very important to know that. I came from growing up was a little rough, and I got myself into trouble going to college, and I managed to turn my life around, and now I'm in school to be a doctor.
Good for
Cool.
you.
Good for you.
Yeah.
All right, well, take one of our cards. You can check out our podcast. Go to the website if you want to contact us. And any service that streams podcast will get you to us.
Amazing. Well, thank y'all so much. You enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Corey.
You too. Thanks, Corey. This has been part 1 of our remote recording at the 2023 Woodlands Pride Festival.